Welcome to another episode of The Darkest Revenge Stories in History. On Life Facts Daily, we will be having insight on the grudges that wouldn't die, the price of revenge, vengeance without mercy. For more insightful stories, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our channel. When a system lets people down, some don't just snap, they go full-on revenge mode. A female assassin in Mexico became a one-woman execution squad. An ultra-violent bully in rural America finally met his match. And then there was the man who declared war on his entire town. Revenge isn't about justice. It isn't about closure. It's raw, primal, and often catastrophic. Today, we're diving into some of the darkest revenge stories ever told, where pain, humiliation, and betrayal led people to commit acts so brutal, they became legends of vengeance. How long could you hold a grudge? A month? A year? A few years? How about 5 decades? In 2012, headlines broke about a 73-year-old man from South Dakota named Carl Erickson, who had just pleaded guilty to murder, an act of revenge 50 years in the making. His victim, Norm Johnson, a former high school classmate, was shot dead at his front door. His wife later found him lying in a pool of blood. Erickson, a heavy drinker battling depression, had carried the memory of a cruel high school prank all his life. Back in the 1950s, Johnson had humiliated him in the locker room by putting a jockstrap on his head. Johnson went on to live a successful life as a coach and teacher. Erickson never forgot. That humiliation festered for half a century until it exploded in murder. When asked about it, Erickson said, "I just wish I could turn the calendar back." But it was too late. His entire life had been consumed by a single moment of shame, and revenge became the final chapter. Now let's step back in time to perhaps the meanest spurned lover in history. In 1938, darkness fell on a remote hamlet in Okayama Prefecture, Japan. Earlier in the evening, the power lines had been cut, plunging the village into silence. High in the hills, a 21-year-old man named Matsuo Toi strapped 2 flashlights to his head. Armed with an axe, a shotgun, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition, he descended into the village with one mission: destruction. Toi began by killing his own grandmother, the woman who had raised him. Then he went door to door, slaughtering families as they slept. Some were shot, others hacked to death with his sword. By sunrise, 30 villagers were dead. Toi's body was later found on a mountain. He had taken his own life. His note revealed years of illness, rejection, and bitterness. He blamed the entire village for his suffering, and his revenge became the deadliest killing spree in Japanese history. In 2009, in India, a woman who had been harassed for years by a powerful man finally snapped. After countless ignored police complaints, she ambushed him in the street with a machete. Witnesses said she struck until he could never harm anyone again. Some cheered, some cried. For her, it wasn't just revenge, it was the justice no one else would give. In 2017, in Australia, a man returned to his hometown carrying only gasoline. His family had been humiliated in a land dispute years before. He poured the fuel around the property of his enemies and lit the flames. No one died, but generations of possessions turned to ash. For him, the fire was closure. During World War II, Jewish survivors of the Holocaust formed a group called the Avengers. Their mission: hunt down Nazis who had escaped justice. They poisoned bread meant for SS guards, tracked collaborators across Europe, and carried out ambushes in the streets. When courts failed, they delivered their own verdicts. In 1983, in Skidmore, Missouri, a bully named Ken Rex McElroy was shot dead in broad daylight. For years, he had terrorized the town with violence and intimidation. Dozens witnessed the killing, but to this day, not one person has named a shooter. Skidmore decided enough was enough, and revenge became collective. In 2012, in Italy, a grieving father stabbed his daughter's exploiter to death in a parking lot. He waited calmly for police, saying only, "The law failed her. I didn't." Centuries earlier, in 1628 Japan, a samurai named Araki Matiman fought his enemies in a vendetta that killed more than 10 men in one legendary clash. His name became forever tied to vengeance. the embodiment of loyalty and fury. In the 1990s, in Colombia, a grieving mother secretly helped vigilantes hunt the men who killed her son. Within 2 years, her son's killers were dead. Whispers called her La Madre de la Venganza, the mother of revenge. In rural Kentucky, a feud over stolen livestock spiraled into years of murders, ambushes, and house burnings. Children grew up learning not math or reading, but hatred, because in that land, revenge was tradition. In 2010, in Pakistan, a young bride forced into marriage poisoned her husband's milk, but others drank it too. Over a dozen died. Her plan for revenge became a massacre. And in South Africa, an evicted tenant built a homemade bomb and blew apart his landlord's property. He told police, "I only wanted him to feel what I felt every day." In 2002, in France, a farmer killed his neighbor after years of bitter land disputes. To him, the soil was worth killing for. In 2016, in Brazil, a grieving mother lured her son's murderer into an alley and stabbed him to death. To her, vengeance was the only justice. In 1925, in Chicago, gangster Angelo Gina sought revenge for his brother's deaths in the mob wars. He hunted Al Capone's men, leaving bodies behind, until Capone's crew ambushed and killed him. In 2013, in South Korea, a bullied teen attacked his tormentors with a knife. His diary revealed months of planning, a blueprint of rage. Centuries ago in Scotland, the Campbells betrayed the MacDonalds, slaughtering them in their sleep. The massacre of Glencoe became one of the darkest chapters of clan revenge. In 1994, in Florida, a husband invited his cheating wife and best friend to dinner. When they sat down, he calmly shot them both. His last words before arrest: "Dinner is over." In 2008, in Nigeria, villagers burned their corrupt chief's home to the ground. For years, they had been silent. That night, they found their voice. In a Wild West, a rancher tracked cattle rustlers across the desert. When he caught them, he tied them up and left them to die of thirst. It was brutal frontier justice. In 2011, in China, a factory worker cheated of wages bombed his boss's office. Nobody died, but his point was clear: pay or pay the price. And in 1976, in Turkey, a father shot his son's killer at a crowded wedding. For him, revenge was the only closure the courts would never provide. In 2015, in Mexico, a father chained his daughter's killer to a warehouse wall and left him to die. Police found only the body. The father disappeared into legend. In 1972, in Northern Ireland, a man avenged his brother's death during the Troubles, carrying out killings that police never solved. His war was personal. In 2004, in Russia, a bullied man struck back at a school reunion, killing former classmates. He told investigators, "I didn't kill them last night. I killed them 20 years ago." In Sicily, a single wedding insult spiraled into generations of blood feuds. Revenge became an inheritance passed from parent to child. In 2018, in India, a teenage girl set fire to her attacker's home, killing him and his brothers. To her, flames were justice. In 1947 Poland, Holocaust survivors poisoned collaborators' wells in secret revenge missions, known only as Whispers of Operation Vengeance. In 2007, in Colorado, a man built a homemade tank, the Killdozer. He rampaged through town, destroying businesses tied to his enemy, before taking his own life. Centuries earlier, in the Ottoman Empire, a betrayed soldier killed his commander during a feast, declaring, "Loyalty dies with betrayal." In 2019, in South America, miners ambushed rivals who had stolen gold, slaughtering them in the jungle. For them, it wasn't gold dust, it was survival. And finally, Fulan Devi, India's bandit queen, exacted revenge on the men who abused her by massacring over 20 of them. To some, she was a criminal. To others, a heroine. To all, she was vengeance incarnate. Across history, revenge has taken many forms. A whispered grudge, a family feud, a wound so deep it festers for decades. For some, revenge feels like justice when the courts fail. For others, it's the only answer to humiliation or loss. But revenge always comes with a price. It doesn't heal wounds. It doesn't erase the past. It spreads pain further like blood soaking into the ground. Families destroyed, towns divided, nations scarred, and yet humanity never learns. From samurai vendettas to modern vigilantes, the hunger for vengeance keeps burning. The question is, when your moment comes, would you let it consume you? Or would you walk away? Because in the end, those who choose vengeance may win a battle, but they never truly win peace. This was the darkest revenge stories in history. And remember, revenge never really ends. It only waits for its next victim. In the end, revenge never really ends. It doesn't close wounds. It doesn't erase the past. It only spreads the pain further, like blood soaking into the ground, staining everything it touches. For more chilling and informative stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like our channel. Life Facts Daily.